Planning for retirement can be stressful, especially if you're thinking of retiring early, because that dream of early retirement can mean years of saving and making sacrifices. David Nicholas is the president and founder of Nicholas Wealth Management. David Nicholas is the president and founder of Nicholas Wealth Management, and he joins us now with some tips on retirement planning. So, David, first off, what's considered a typical retirement age? Is there a right age to retire?
Yeah, it's a good question. According to the most recent Census Bureau, the average age for Americans retiring right now is about age 63. But in regards to how Social Security works and Medicare, 63 would actually be considered pretty early for retirement. So you asked the question, David, is there a right age to retire? Really, it's when you have enough retirement income to last you for the rest of your life. So that's going to vary based on each individual.
So that's pretty interesting. I was actually looking at a chart earlier today that gave you a bit of a guideline as to how much money you should have saved up by your 30s, your 40s, your 50s. It did it in multiples of your income, like 6 times your income in your 40s and 7 times your income in your 60s, something along those lines. But what would someone have to do to be able to actually afford to retire early?
Yeah, I can tell you it has more to do with your savings than what rate of return that you'll get. If anyone wants to retire early, I would encourage them to make sure you're putting away at least 15 to 20% of your income per year towards your retirement savings. So savings is a big part of it, but also you got to be careful with taxes. So when we have options between an IRA or a Roth IRA, I'd strongly recommend for younger investors, I would choose the Roth retirement accounts over the IRA because that's going to be the most beneficial for you from a tax standpoint. So save to make sure you can retire early.
Okay, so we know that. You got to set aside the money, but are there maybe sort of other things that people don't initially think about that they really should consider when they're thinking about retiring?
Absolutely, yeah. So if you're going to retire early, one of the biggest things is how are we going to pay for health care? Full retirement in terms of Social Security and Medicare really doesn't kick in until age 66 or 67. So if you're going to retire early, you're going to have to figure out how am I going to pay for health care? The other thing is longevity. If you're going to retire at, say, 60 or 62, you could have 25, 30, even 40 years in retirement. So you got to make sure, number one, you're going to be able to have the income that can last you. But number two, you have to make sure you're not taking too much risk in your portfolio because you don't want to be in a situation to where you take a big loss early in retirement that would then make it easier for you to run out of money earlier.
You mentioned 15, or I think it was 15 or 20% of your income. A lot of people sort of hear that and think there's no possible way I can do it. Is it doable?
It is, but I'll tell you, it's become harder and harder because most people retiring today, they don't have a pension. And without having that extra stream of retirement income, it's tough. But I can tell you, the more that you save, the more that you put away, it's absolutely doable. But you're going to want to consider maybe, pushing off pulling from your Social Security until 68, 69, 70. That way hey, no matter what happens, I'm still going to have that Social Security benefit paid to me for as long as I live.
All right, that's all really good bits of advice. You take the money out of your paycheck before you even see it. Doesn't hurt as much. David Nicholas, thank you so much for your insight.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.